Chapter 3 Roger. All the bells were ringing for evensong, the great bell of the abbey, the smaller bells of St. Peter's, the silvery bells of St. Michael's, and distant and belated, the bells of St. Stephen's. Adam and Perkin, small and lonely figures on the high, empty heath, wondered what they ought to do. "We don't want to miss supper," said Perkin. "Look!" cried Adam. Far down the wheel tracks that crossed the heath, they saw somebody coming. Several times they had thought they had seen someone approaching, and each time they had turned out to be sheep. But these were unmistakable men on horseback. The breeze brought the faint jingling of the silver bells on their harnesses. Adam stood on a grassy hillock and watched them come nearer, his heart beating so hard that it echoed in his ears. Some knights came first. "There's one of the Cliffords, checky gold and azure with a fessy gules," said Perkin, pointing to a shield painted with gold and blue checks and a wide red stripe across the centre. Every boy tried to learn the arms of the different knights and prided himself on the number he could recognize. Perkin knew more than any of the boys at St. Albans, partly because he had a good memory, and partly because he took a lot of trouble over anything that he thought might help him to get on in the world. "It's the Delisle leopard I'm looking for," said Adam. "Gules a leopard, silver-crowned gold," said Perkin, showing off. The heraldic terms were almost another language. "There it is!" A knight rode past with the silver leopard on the red ground blazoned on his shield and on the trappings of his great war-horse. His helm was hanging down his back, and his hair, which curled across his forehead and hung nearly to his shoulders, was fiery red in the sunshine. As he passed the boys, he turned and said something to the man beside him. Adam was sure he had noticed Nick, and was saying what a fine dog he was. "My faith!" exclaimed Perkin. "They've got a carriage!" Adam had heard that some of the great nobles had carriages for their ladies to travel in, but he had never seen one before. It was a huge affair, and it made a good deal of noise as it came lurching and jolting along the road. It took 4 horses to pull it, and 2 men to drive, one man riding astride the first horse, and the other sitting up in front of the carriage. It had 4 wheels studded with nails to grip the muddy roads. They were as big and heavy as cartwheels, but the spokes were all beautifully carved. The carriage itself was shaped like an enormous sausage, all painted and gilded, with little square windows in the sides and a door at the back. While Adam and Perkin stood and gaped at it, the embroidered curtains in one of the windows parted, and a little girl looked out. She had a pointed face with shining brown eyes and red lips. She wore a red ribbon around her brown curls and a red dress. She was pretty. Adam quickly commanded Nick to walk, and the little girl laughed. That so much pleased Adam that he handed his harp to Perkin and stood on his head until the blood began to pound in his face and his feet wobbled. When he turned himself right side up again, the carriage was past and the curtain covered the window. Adam felt a little silly. He had almost forgotten for a moment that he was looking for Roger. 4 more men passed in a bunch, and then a man came riding alone. Adam really saw the horse first. It was a beautiful dappled gray, tall and strong enough to carry a knight in full armor into battle. The man who rode him was not a knight. He wore a bright surcoat striped in blue and green and tawny and cut in points around the hem, and he carried a vial slung over his shoulder. His brown hair was cut short, his tanned face was square at the chin, and his eyes set deep under the box-like brow were gray and keen and humorous. "Roger!" shouted Adam. "Roger!" The man reined in the big horse. "How, boy? Why, grant mercy, it's Adam." He flung his leg over the horse's broad back, and the next second was standing on the heath. Perkin jumped forward and took the horse's bridle. Adam flung himself on Roger. After a tight hug, Roger took him by the shoulders and held him off to look at him. "You've grown," said Roger. "You're whey-faced. Your freckles are all bleached away. I wouldn't give a pulled hen for those clothes they've dressed you in, but I've seen no sight in France or England that I liked half so well." He pulled the boy close and bent down. He was tall, to kiss him on both cheeks. "Where have you been all this time?" said Adam. "Where did you get the horse? This is my friend Perkin. Nick can roll over and play dead. Look, Roger. Roger, watch." But Nick was bouncing up and down, trying to get at Roger's face to lick it, and Roger was patting him with one hand and stretching the other out to Perkin. "I've been at a night dubbing near Colchester," said Roger. 3 days of jousting and feasting and tales. The new romances that I brought back from France went well, and Sir Edmund was generous. The horse's name is Bayard." If anything could have made Roger more wonderful in Adam's eyes, it was to have a magnificent war-horse named Bayard. Adam reached up and stroked Bayard's nose, which felt smooth and warm and hard under his hand. The great red-lined nostrils flared out, and the big lips moved as if he expected to be given some tidbit to eat. Adam looked about and found him a tuft of tender grass, and he chewed it with a wide rotary motion till his bit was flecked with green foam. When he tossed his head, his mane swung and his harness jingled. They were alone on the heath now. The last of the Delisle train and the pack-horses and carts had disappeared into the town, whose clustered roofs and great tower stood out dark against the setting sun. "Have they been good to you over yonder?" said Roger. As he spoke, he began to move slowly toward St. Albans, leading Bayard by the bridle. Adam walked beside him, and Perkin marched along silently on the other side of Adam, his lean, hawk-like face alight with pleasure. Nick ranged ahead, nose to the ground, hunting for rabbits. "Are you going to take me away with you?" Adam answered Roger's question with another question. "Certainly, unless you'd rather stay here." Adam's heart leaped with joy. "They've been very good to me," he said earnestly. "There was plenty to eat, and I had a bed to myself, and they taught me to sing Latin hymns, and I learned stories about the saints that might be useful. But I don't want to stay here. I'm a minstrel, not a clerk, and anyhow, I want to go with you." "I am Sir Edmund's man now," said Roger. "We go where he goes. Tomorrow we go with him to London." "Tomorrow?" Adam thrust his harp at Perkin again and turned 5 cartwheels without stopping. When he came up standing, he had thought of something. He had remembered Perkin. It was wonderful to be going away with Roger, but he would have to leave Perkin behind. He took his harp back again with a sober face and threw his arm over Perkin's shoulders, as he had done so many times these last 5 months. "I wish you could come too," he said. "I wish you could." "It's a pity there's nothing in this world that's all good," said Roger, and added philosophically, "but then nothing is all bad either." Perkin spoke for the first time since Roger had come. "We'll see each other again," he said. "Minstrels get about, and so do students." Adam drew a long sigh, not comforted. He loved Perkin.